Good morning. This is Adrian from Jaskiran Astrology, and I am here to tell you about today's full moon in Aquarius. So it happened this morning at about 3:54 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I'm a little bit late in recording, but the energies are still strong. Yesterday was the Lion's Gate, which was an energy portal in Leo where Sirius and the sun lined together to create this intense energy, this Leonic energy. And I think it's significant to go along with this full moon. So I wanted to mention it. I'm going to bring up the chart and we'll just jump right in. All right. So, yeah, there's a lot going on. I in my written moon report, which I will link in the comments below, I talked a lot about relationships because I think that this moon is working its way through relationships. And I'm going to say that for a couple of reasons. One, when we're dealing with oppositions, they are a um, they are the energy where we take what we have, what we are experiencing, and we place it into a relationship away from us, the opposition. And so oppositions have a very Libra archetype. The other reason I talk about it is because Mars is at 1 degree Libra. So, and Mars is the way that Pluto actions itself here in the earthly realm. We're driven underneath by this Plutonian energy. It's pushing us along at a very subtle level underneath um, just the basis of for who we are and what is happening. And Mars is showing us how that is expressing here in the earthly realm. So, like I said, I think that this um, chart has a lot to do with a shift in the way that we are relating in the external world. So I want to start with Pluto, like I always like to, because it is the underlying current for what is happening. And Pluto is in Aquarius, it is retrograde. And the retrograde means that we are accelerating. It's just pushing the energy fast. And it's an inward energy, this acceleration. It's sort of like the Uranus archetype. It's breaking free Aquarius. So it's this energy of breaking us free from any kind of conditioning that we've had. And Pluto over the next, I think it's 18 years now, 18 and a half years, something like that, is really the undercurrent is pushing us to break free from the conditioning that we've all been living through and that is ending, because ultimately Pluto is about empowerment. We're empowering humanity, we're empowering the individuals. The individuals will create what happens in the collective. So yeah, we'll start there. So Pluto in Aquarius is essentially saying that we've been conditioned by this particular way of living that is ending. And while Pluto went through Capricorn, Pluto is empowering us, but basically what's happened is through the journey through Capricorn, which began in 2008, we have been we've been destroying, changing, transmuting the system, the structure of our reality. We've been changing it because the way we've been living is no longer advantageous for the individuals or for the evolution of humanity. And so it's been changing. And in November of 2024, Pluto moved into Aquarius um, permanently. It won't ever go back into Capricorn. And currently, it's moving toward, I believe it's going to go back to the 0 degree in a few minutes mark, but it won't go back into Capricorn. We are really in the energy of breaking free from that. And that will remain for 19 years, 18 and a half years. So that's the undercurrent. Let's talk about the nodes. Because in evolutionary astrology, when we're trying to understand the energy of what's happening, we look at the undercurrent and then we look at the nodes, because the nodes represent the arc of emotional development, how we are developing inwardly, how we see ourselves. The nodes are the nodes of the moon. The moon is how we see ourselves. It's the inward vision of who we are. And the nodes are the south node down here is about the past. It's really where we are, and it is linked to the past. And the north node up here, they always oppose each other exactly, is the direction of how we will see ourselves in the future. And so, and through the moon, which is over here near Pluto, um, is the way that we will get there. So the moon is in Aquarius. Our inward reflection of ourselves, how we see ourselves, is to break free from the constraints of this dissolving society. And it's dissolving. We're all watching it slowly wash away. And then, but our egos, who we are, is still attached to that energy. We're working slowly. Pluto is moving us slowly through, and the moon has lined up with Pluto, and it is breaking us out of that pattern. Now, Pluto and the moon are not technically conjunct, although with Pluto, I like to use a 15-degree orb, and this one is at 14. So yes, Pluto is influencing the moon at this time. And they are in the same sign. It's the energy of breaking out of the limitations, the way that we've held ourselves back to really express what the sun is expressing, which is our true inner self, our inner child. And I like to describe the inner child as, the small child that doesn't even know that they have to suppress parts of themselves. They just are themselves. And then throughout the journey of life, our parents socialize us, and that is a conditioning energy. And then we go to school, and our teachers and condition us further. We learn what it is that we're supposed to learn. We're further conditioned. As we get to our teenage years, we are very much conditioned by our peer group. So we have this peer pressure energy. And then we get into college, we get into our jobs, we marry, and we are influenced by our partners. And so over our lifetime, we become very much covered over with this energy of uh, conditioning, and the shiny glowy sun underneath is covered, and we very often, depending on how old we are, don't even understand that there's a part of ourselves that is inside that doesn't get to express itself. And I don't want to say that it's completely the external that suppresses us, because we begin to do that for ourselves because we want to fit in. Um, Aquarius is about not fitting in. It's about being unique. Now, in the energy of Aquarius, we will find that we will, as we vibrate our unique frequency, that we will draw toward us other people that have a similar frequency. And this would be the energy of the group. And in that energy, we aren't really trying to align with the status quo, which is a Capricorn archetype, because that is dissolving. The sun is shining its light as we break apart the energy of conditioning. It allows the sun to shine. I just wanted to start there. I want to go back to the nodes, because the nodes, as I was talking about the moon is really breaking us free so that we can begin to see ourselves for who we were born to be, essentially. And that's what Pluto is also saying to us. Now, the nodes are the emotional growth curve. Let's talk about the South Node first. If we look at the Pisces, Virgo, which are the signs that the nodes are in, the South Node is in Virgo, North Node is in Pisces. If we look at the North Node as being the whole, the completion of all things, seeing ourselves as being whole, then the South Node is seeing ourselves as the parts, this energy of separation. And I really, there are a lot of energies that people associate with Virgo. Hard work, the energy of perfection. These are energies that I feel like they are the antidote to feeling separate. If we see ourselves as separate, we're separate from each other, we're separate from the earth, we're separate from different countries. This energy, to me, leads to this hierarchical, um, these levels. And we as human beings associate ourselves somewhere amongst the hierarchy. And so South Node is the past. This is how I see we are learning to understand this past way of being. It's linked to the conditioning, that we have seen ourselves as separate, and therefore as either superior or inferior. That is the past. Where we're headed is the North Node. And the North Node is how we're going to see ourselves in the future. And what I'm saying is that in the future, we will all see ourselves as part of a whole, the whole community of life, um, the whole world. It's it's a global energy. But as it stands right now, it appears to me that we're still in this hierarchical energy. Really, it doesn't, we're integrating this wholeness, and we haven't gotten there yet. Pluto is at 2 degrees. It's retrograde right now to go back and pick up some more information, and then it will begin its forward movement, I think October or November, not quite sure of the dates. So this is the energy of the nodes. Now, seeing the Pisces archetype is about oneness, wholeness, and it is also about dissolving all the energies that have come before it. The Pisces archetype is expressed through Neptune. Neptune is currently in an exact conjunction with Saturn. They are both in the sign of Aries at 1 degree. And before I go on, I just want to scan around the chart and show you that Uranus is also at 1 degree and Mars is also at 1 degree. And this is all a very important energy. Pluto's at 2, but will be at 1 before too long. We'll come back and talk about that kite um, later on, but I want to describe the individual energies. So this energy of Neptune and Saturn together are very important. They're at the top of the chart. We're very aware of this energy of dissolving and this energy also of the structure. And this is what these two planets together, it's the dissolving of a particular structure. In the sign of Aries, though, it's about who we are. Aries is ruled by Mars. And so we're dissolving this structure where, let's drop down to Mars, in the way that we're dealing with our relationships. Our relationships have been, South Node in Virgo, very hierarchical. We have this energy where we have to self-suppress so that we keep the other, the opposition, um, in a balanced manner. Um, what is changing here because of the moon energy is that we really have to begin to step into this sun energy. The sun is about our true self, what is emanating out of the heart, and what is natural and our purpose for us, instead of suppressing. So these energies are all linked together. It's trying to put it together in a way that's cohesive. Is I'm going to be jumping around a little bit. So this energy of dissolving what has come before and it's accelerated because they're both retrograde. So there's a very rapid dissolving. And the opposition to Mars is that in our relationships, because the structure of our relationships is dissolving, something new will always come in on it. And so the opposite energy, the polarity, if you will, or the shadow side of this Neptune Saturn conjunction is really about bringing forth our dream. It's an Aries, it's us, it's an energy of self-discovery that is happening, and it's coming from within, and it's accelerating this energy to bring the dream, uh, the highest ideal of humanity and our individuals forward. And Saturn retrograde is another energy. It's like the energy of being our own authority. This is where we stop listening to the external world and we begin to focus on our personal authority. And these two planets together, while it's dissolving their own authority, we really have, while we are dissolving the past authority, I should say, we are also at the same time, because nothing is left in a void, accelerating our internal authority and our dream. They're together. And we're doing this through Mars, the opposition. We have to integrate the opposition. So let's talk about Mars for a few minutes. Mars, like I said, is the energy of action. It's the Aries energy. Very often it's linked with explosiveness and anger. Perhaps we have in the past been angered in our relationships. And mainly because in the sign of Libra, we're dealing with extremes and trying to bring these extremes together. When I talk about oppositions or I talk about Libra, what appears in my head is the pendulum. And the pendulum swings back and forth slowly, slowly, till it comes to a very center point when it stops. And this is the energy of Libra and of the oppositions. And currently we have two oppositions. I'll get to the next one, but this energy of the dissolving energy and putting something back together for ourselves that we as individuals are really hoping for, the ideal of the reality. Um, Mars is saying we have to deal with the external world. So Libra, we can't just put ourselves and say this is how it's going to be, because we do have to deal with the external world. And this happens on the personal level through our relationships, but even larger, it's the rest of the world. There's this back and forth energy that's happening. As Mars moves into Libra at the beginning, it's a very Libra archetype, being in the first decans of Libra. And we are really putting our energy into a new way of dealing with the external, the other. And at the same time, we are dealing with this new way of exerting our own authority and exerting what our ideal is. However, they're opposing each other. And so this will be reflected in our relationships. And what we seek is a balance, yeah, a can't think of the word right now, but a balance between the self and the other, between the outside and the inside. Um, I'm going to jump over and talk about this energy over here, this Venus and Jupiter conjunction. One, because both of these planets are in Cancer. Venus ingressed into Cancer shortly after the new moon in Leo, and is moving its way through. It is just moved into the second decans of the Cancer archetype, which is Scorpio. And so Scorpio is the energy of like empowerment and deep emotional limitations. And so let's talk about Venus first, because Venus rules both Taurus and Libra. And when we're dealing in Cancer, we're dealing with the moon. We're dealing with that inner sense of self. And really, Venus is coming in and really attuning us to our own inner security. How can we achieve an inner sense of security? I talked about Libra in the energy of like people pleasing. It's where we self suppress so that we can keep the peace. That is the shadow way of dealing with Libra. But I think ultimately in this pendulum swing, both sides of every equation should be getting what they want. Compromise. That was the word that I was looking for earlier. There's a compromise that has to happen. Some of us don't compromise. Some of us compromise too much. There's a range. But what Venus is asking us to do is to really attune to our inner worlds and creating this internal sense of security in the world. Now, if you think about the archetype of Capricorn, where Pluto has just gone through and changed, we have come from a place that the external world has been keeping us safe. And I think we're breaking that energy apart and switching into this internal energy. We keep ourselves safe. Like I said earlier in the beginning, we won't do this alone because we will come together with others that have a similar frequency. But we really have to have a strong internal emotional security to be going into the future. Jupiter moved into Cancer earlier this year, I think June, and really began expanding this inner emotional world, this uh, how we bring internal security. And this conjunction between the two is closing. So we're looking at this energy of focusing on our internal world, really merging together with this expansion. So we can expect as Venus crosses Jupiter that we're really going to expand our sense of feeling secure within inside ourselves. Now, the moon is an Aquarius, and very often the energy of Aquarius can feel like alienation, like I don't belong. Belonging is another word that links with Cancer, and it's about belonging with ourselves. We're really talking about becoming secure in who we are and really shining out that true energy of who we are and bringing that into our relationships. To be able to find a balance between the inner world and the outer world. So I see this as the energy of what's happening. I do want to talk about, before I close, I want to talk about Uranus. Uranus is the energy of fracturing, of breaking apart, of innovation. It's the energy of moving into a new place. Um, and it's in the sign of Gemini. And Gemini is the energy of the thought process. So when I'm looking at Uranus and Gemini, I'm thinking about the fracturing of a, a way of thinking, of a way of consciousness, and something new will evolve out of it. It's at 1 degree. We're just now coming into this shift of consciousness, is how I see it. And because Uranus is ruling both the moon and Pluto at this time, the energies support each other. We're integrating this shift of consciousness with this breaking out of the constrictions that we have felt. And where is it playing out? It's going to play out with our relationships. So I would say expect extremes and then, you know, hold tight to our own inner convictions because what comes from within is important and it's been suppressed for such a long time, and we are in a place where we're moving out of it. Um, I do want to talk a little bit about this opposition, this final opposition here um, between Pluto and Mercury. So I've been talking about Mercury, the Gemini archetype. Mercury is retrograde, although it has station direct into, I think, on the 11th, early in the morning. One more day, it'll be resuming its forward motion. It's going to go over its shadow place and back into Cancer, where it will meet up with these other two planets. And our consciousness is going to be aligning. Uranus is this energy of higher consciousness, and it is sort of filtering its energy down into this earthly consciousness. And basically, what it's saying is our consciousness is aligning to our own personal purposes. We each have a different purpose. We've come here, all of our birth charts are different, We have a very specific purpose, very specific experiences that help to shape who we are. And because Mercury's been in Leo, we are really accelerating this energy of coming from within, which aligns with the Mars and with the Pluto and the Moon. We are, the opposition energy of Pluto is Leo. To break free from the conditioning, we move into the heart. The heart is where we're getting our information. The heart is inward. Both Venus and Jupiter are in the moon. They are in how we're seeing ourselves, our internal security. Everything is kind of being pulled inward, and we are expressing these energies outward. Um, yeah, so this is how I see what's going on in the world. We are integrating into our breaking free. We're integrating this energy of aligning our thought processes to what's happening on the inside. So, a walk in the woods, nature is a really good place to connect with the self, just even alone, just a walking meditation, and think about where you are and what you want to do and what kind of energy is coming in from the heart, and put this out into the world, um, and see what happens. There are quite a few inconjuncts happening, and so we may come up against some blind spots. There's also some sesquiquadrates that really allow us to begin the process of adjusting so that we can fit what it is that we want and what we need into the world in a way that achieves a balance with other people. So that's what I see with this chart. And thank you for listening. If you want to get a little, I think when I write, my energy can put my thoughts into a little bit of better order. And I do have a Substack account. And like I said, I'll link it. It's kind of long this time because there were a lot of aspects to talk about. And also, I want to say that these moon reports, these transits that are happening, affect each of us a little bit differently because they align in different parts of our chart. So if you're interested in having me take a look and see where these energies are affecting you personally, reach out. My website is jaskiranastrology.com. I will link that in the comments below as well. And I hope you all have a blessed full moon. And once again, thanks for listening.